Data provider. We've been monetizing data for over 6 years. We've got the largest credit and debit card panel in the market right now. We partner directly with banks and financial institutions to get access to that data in a safe and secure way. So as a data provider to funds, we do work with source data or data suppliers in general as well. So some of you guys source data yourselves and work directly with suppliers. We're kind of a middleman where we consolidate a lot of data from different banks and financial institutions. So that's kind of where we sit, and that's who we are. We're all here in New York. Weather's okay, but it's still a great city. Why don't we start, I just wanted to start today with something that we can at least all relate to. And like I said, we are a data provider, but we do work with data suppliers directly. And working with data suppliers is not easy, let's just be honest. Like, I don't know, with a show of hands, how many of you have ever had these questions come up? What's an S3? And, or maybe, did you say ARN? Or what's an ARN? And you know immediately, once you start hearing these questions, you're like, oh man, how am I gonna get this data out of this company? Or this one, I hear all the time. Do you have any data dictionaries or any documentation? We all know the answer to this, right? Whenever you're talking to someone, you're asking about data, it's no. No one ever has data dictionaries or documentation. And my new favorite, and I'm not making this one up, it's historical data will take an extra 6 months, cost you an extra $15,000 because we need to go back to Iron Mountain for our tape drive backups in order to provide you with historical data. True story. Anyone, Noah? No one had to get tape drive backups for their historical data? Okay. Well, obviously this is a hard thing to do, and so, sorry, I lost my thought just thinking about tape drives. But at the end of the day, it's hard to source data, and it's extremely difficult to work with data suppliers. Whenever you talk to them initially, they tell you, my data is so neat, it's so organized, you're gonna love it, pay me a bunch of money. In reality, when you actually start digging into it, it's a little crazier and a lot harder to work with, and you're trying to figure out what columns what. Some of the columns are named the same thing, and it's extremely difficult. That's just ingesting data, though. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I know that that's just a small portion of what you guys have to do to ingest alternative data. So why don't we look at what the whole project really looks like and what the entire iceberg looks like. The real tip of the iceberg is probably more like contracting, commercials, sourcing, coming to conferences like Neudata, identifying and learning about data sets, and getting vendor compliance, due diligence, DDQs done. That's probably more the top end of what you have to do. As we go deeper into what this alternative data iceberg is, you start working with the actual technology, importing the data, tape drives, ETLs, pipelines, data warehousing, architecture. Then you get into actually, how do I make this data useful for myself or within the fund? How do I security or ticker tag this? Like I need to map it to an entity or normalize the data, panel the data, map it to the proper KPIs. For us, spending data. Is it actually, are you mapping to revenue, same store sales, that type of work? And then at the other tip of the iceberg, we get to the good stuff. This is where you're actually working on, is the signal unique? Using this data for idea generation, actually investment theses, back testing, building models. So this is a lot of work for really just one alternative data set. And to be honest, the majority of this work is not really core fund activities that you guys want to do or need to do. And it's really not scalable when you start thinking about, well, if that's just one data set, I need to add multiple data sets. Do I have to go through this for every single one? And sometimes the answer right now is yes, you do. So what if by combining data and technology into a single solution, we essentially can save you guys time to work on core fund activities and not worry about the rest of that iceberg? That's kind of what really today's topic's about. But before I get into that, let's talk about what do those solutions kind of look like separately from a data provider and a technology solution. So the current value prop that a lot of data providers are going to show you, and Facteus included, this, I'm not even kidding, you will still see us pitch like this if we can. You're going to get, some time scale. We're going to measure some KPI. First thing we're going to do, we're just like, hey, this is what consensus looks like. Then we're going to say, well, this is what my data is showing for that same KPI. And guess what? When I show you this use case in the actuals, it's going to look really good for us because it's a surprise. Consensus was wrong. My data is right. You can sign here. Buy now. Let's go. So most data providers, that's kind of the use case we try to go with to really show that you guys should be using our data. From a technology provider, a pure play technology provider, a lot of times you're going to get some sort of a dashboard. They're going to show you alternative data provider 1, alt data provider 2, alt data provider 3. Now this is really interesting. You can see all these different data sets in one place. Part of the problem is you're going to have to contract with all 3 of these from a pure technology player. You're going to have to contract with them, talk to us. We're going to load the data in there. Also, a lot of times mixing data sets within these technology platforms is hard because you're really working with finished products. So like alt data set 1, 2, and 3, they're all self-optimized where that data set's optimized to be the best data set itself. Just adding them together or mixing them together is not always the best solution to get the combination. And a lot of times these providers, what they'll do is show you, hey, the best thing that you should be using for this KPI in this use case is alt data provider 2. So that's what they kind of look like, what you're kind of hearing right now in general. But again, when we combine them, the use cases change. So I'm really talking about the combination of data and technology. And so let me walk you through what we can do at Facteus because we're coming out and offering a technology solution and layer on top of our data set. So the first thing I'll go over is let me show you how easy it is to build a universe screener with our alternative transaction data and Bloomberg data set. So the first thing we're going to do is I'll import forecast data from our data system directly in Excel using what we call Quantamatics. Quantamatics is the Facteus data layer and data platform that we've created on top of all of our alternative data sets and every single data set that we have, where in Excel, with a single formula, you can, based on the universe of tickers you want to look at, import forecast data and have it piped right in. That's how easy it is. Side by side, which this is something you guys probably already know how to do, is using the Bloomberg plugin, you can put Bloomberg market data right next to it. So immediately you have alternative data and fundamental and market data right next to each other. You can really start to see how by accelerating your time to access and see the data inside Excel, you can start looking at things like how are Facteus alternative data forecasts differing from consensus. Let's look for another one of those surprises. So this is just one example. Another example is a dashboard. You can build your own dashboards in Excel very easily and very quickly because you can just get access to the data so much faster. So same plugin, Quantamatics, with a different formula, or essentially a different function, you can import spending data already aggregated at the fiscal quarter. This example, I believe, is Target. And really just, it brings in all of the spending data that we have on Target at the fiscal quarter level, just in one function. Really simple. Then it's just a graphing exercise in Excel, which everyone can do. And you can kind of start to see, you can start building like this spending dashboard. Just going off of the dashboard idea, if you ever wanted to just create a different cell, mark the formula in changing the ticker, so you really start to build like you can punch in any ticker and then all the graphs change, same thing. This is hitting our live system and pulling the data directly into your Excel platform. And then if you don't want to build your own dashboard, we have dashboards as well. So when I say dashboards, these are Excel templates already wired with all of our formulas and already having access to all of our data. So this is an example of a template that we've created. In our templates in our system, you can look at, this is just an example where you can look at, this has a backtesting example in here. You can change the backtesting parameters. You can change the forecasting algorithm that you want. We've put it in a nice easy drop-down menu. It's really simple to change the look-back periods. Everything's all here and pre-built. That's one of the things our product team does. We continually build on top of our existing templates and our existing platform so that anyone can just come in, plug and play, and you immediately, day one, can start seeing insight and value from alternative data. Just one more example. Maybe this is a little, this might make a little more sense too. So this, what you're looking at here, this is a standard fundamental model of target. This is something you guys have all seen probably 1,000 times in business school, finance class, just a classic fundamental model. With the plugin, what's really cool is if you look here, this is literally all of our forecast data piped directly into your fundamental model. So it's really easy to just put the two together because you already have these models in Excel. You bring this directly in line, and obviously you're gonna have to figure out how you want to use the data, but you can pipe it directly into Excel, into your existing models, and it's really simple to use. I actually am pretty short. So that was really it. I just wanted to show you that by combining data plus technology, you can really accelerate your time to alternative data and hopefully just avoid these alternative data icebergs.